The world does not reward intelligence. It rewards those who know what to do with it. You already know people who are smarter than you on paper, yet somehow always end up working for people who are less capable but more dangerous. That is the difference between being intelligent and being dangerously smart. Dangerously smart people do not simply solve problems, they shape the game so problems become weapons, and every interaction moves them closer to power. Everyone else is just proud of how clearly they can explain why they keep losing. You have felt the cost of regular intelligence your entire life. You notice patterns, you see through lies, you understand what people should do, and yet somehow they ignore you, use you, or walk straight past you. Talent without teeth is entertainment for predators. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He watched brilliant men be outplayed by crude but cunning rivals, men who were not more intelligent, only more willing to use their intelligence ruthlessly. He knew that raw intellect is nothing without strategy, and strategy is nothing without the courage to abandon your need to be seen as good. You were trained to believe that if you are smart and kind, life will eventually notice and reward you. Look around. Is that what you see? Or do you see cunning mediocrity rising while honest competence grinds itself into the floor? If you are tired of being the person who understands but never directs, the mind that sees but never decides, then this is your moment of treason against the version of you that was trained to stay small. Today, we are going to dive into 8 ruthless lessons that will make you dangerously smart. Not classroom smart, not trivia smart, but Machiavellian smart. The kind of intelligence that makes people uneasy when you walk into a room because they can feel that you see more than you say. These lessons are not about test scores or IQ. They are weapons for your perception, your decisions, and your ability to move in a world that is far more predatory than anyone admitted to you as a child. If you use them blindly, you will become manipulative. If you use them consciously, you will become free. Lesson 1. Stop worshiping intelligence that does not change outcomes. Intelligence without strategy is just anxiety with better vocabulary. You know this because you overthink. You replay arguments in your head. You analyze what you should have said. You construct perfect responses hours after the moment has died. That is not strategy. That is self-torture. Machiavelli understood that the only intelligence that matters is the kind that changes behavior, your own first, then others. If your insights don't alter what you do tomorrow morning, they are intellectual entertainment. Ruthless Lesson 1 is simple and brutal. Measure your intelligence by your ability to change your own patterns, not by your ability to describe them. The dangerously smart man is not the one who gives the best analysis of why he is stuck. He is the one who quietly alters one decision, one habit, one boundary, and lets the results speak for him. So begin here. Take one area where you constantly feel outplayed. Workplace politics, dating, family arguments, and instead of explaining it to yourself again, change one move. Arrive 10 minutes earlier than you usually do. Speak one sentence less than you usually would. Say no where you always say yes. You will learn more from that single altered behavior than another year of mental commentary about how unfair everything is. Lesson 2. Assume that everyone, including you, is driven by self-interest first and honesty only when it is convenient. This is not cynicism, it is X-ray vision. You were trained to take people at their words, to believe that politeness equals goodwill and that nice phrases equal noble motives. Dangerously smart people listen to words, but they trust incentives. Machiavelli watched princes promise loyalty until the moment it was cheaper to betray it. He concluded that if you want to predict behavior, ignore declarations and study fears, desires, and leverage. You already know this on some level. Think of the coworker who keeps saying, "We're all a family here," right before asking you to work late again for free. Their words are about unity. Their incentives are about extracting more labor at no cost. Which one do you think will predict their next move? To become dangerously smart, you must train yourself to ask a different question in every interaction. Not, what is this person saying, but what would I do if I had their fears, their debts, their ambitions, their secrets? When you do this honestly, something uncomfortable happens. You realize that in their position, you might act exactly the same way they do. That realization does not excuse their behavior, but it makes it predictable, and predictability is the raw material of power. Stop labeling people as monsters or angels. Start labeling them as rational or irrational according to their incentives. The man who cheats is protecting his ego. The boss who underpays is protecting his margin. The friend who disappears when you fail is protecting her image of herself as a winner. Seen through this lens, betrayal stops being a shock and becomes a calculation you could have seen coming. This is where dangerous intelligence begins, not in judging people harsher, but in refusing to be surprised by what self-interest will eventually demand of them. And once you stop being surprised, you can finally start to plan. Lesson 3. Think in moves, not moments. The average person reacts to whatever is directly in front of their face. They argue with the comment, defend against the accusation, chase the compliment, panic at the silence. The dangerously smart person sees every interaction as a chessboard, not a snapshot. He is not asking, how do I win this second? He is asking, if I respond this way, what position does that put me in 2 moves ahead?
Think about the last argument you had. You probably tried to win the sentence. You wanted the last word, the sharpest comeback, the perfect correction. What did it cost you 2 moves later? Maybe they shut down completely. Maybe they remembered your words and used them against you months after you forgot you ever said them. You won the moment and lost the position. Machiavelli advised princes to see beyond immediate praise or blame and to consider only what strengthened or weakened their power over time. That is how dangerously smart people move. They ask, if I satisfy my ego right now, does it buy me leverage or debt later? This is why silence is often the most intelligent move, not because you're weak, but because you understand that every word you speak commits you to a path. Sometimes the most ruthless intelligence is to say less, move slower, and let other people reveal their entire strategy in the space you leave open. To train this, practice delaying your reactions by just 5 seconds. When you feel the impulse to explain, defend, or attack, pause. In those 5 seconds, ask a single question. If I do what I usually do, where does that put me tomorrow? Do not think in terms of justice. Think in terms of position. Dangerously smart people are not fortune tellers. They are pattern readers. After you make this 5-second pause a habit, you will begin to see how often your normal reactions have been walking you straight into traps that you could have easily sidestepped if you had been thinking 2 moves ahead. Lesson 4. Guard your emotional state like a fortress. Average intelligence believes that thinking is what makes you smart. Dangerous intelligence understands that your emotional baseline is what determines whether you can use your thinking at all. You already know this. When you are flooded with anger, anxiety, or shame, your brain does not become more intelligent, it becomes more primitive. Machiavelli warned rulers never to let their private feelings become public decisions. The same is true for you. If other people can easily agitate you, shame you, or flatter you into abandoning your plans, your intelligence belongs to them, not to you. Guarding your emotional state does not mean pretending to feel nothing. That is acting, and acting breaks down under pressure. It means becoming ruthlessly aware of what reliably uncenters you, and making a plan in advance for each one. Who are the people who can trigger you fastest? What accusations hook you immediately? Which compliments make you drop your standards? Write them down. That list is your map of vulnerability. Dangerously smart people treat provocation as data. When someone tries to humiliate you in public, that is not just an insult, it is a revelation. They are showing you that they feel threatened and that their strategy depends on moving you off your emotional center. If you react exactly as they hoped, you have confirmed their assessment of your weakness. Instead, treat each emotional spike as a silent alarm. Ah, they are trying to steer me. Interesting. Name it. Slow your breathing. Soften your jaw. Lower your shoulders. Before you say a single word, bring your body back under your command. Only then do you respond, or choose not to. You will notice something strange when you begin to do this. The more grounded you become, the more other people will project intelligence onto you, even when you are saying very little. Calm is interpreted as competence. Stability is read as authority. By guarding your emotional state, you are not only protecting your thinking, you are manufacturing the perception of high intelligence in the minds of everyone watching you. Lesson 5. Treat information as a weapon, not a hobby. Most people collect information the way small children collect toys, randomly, compulsively, with no plan to use any of it. They skim articles, scroll feeds, watch videos, and then feel proud of how informed they are, even though nothing in their life changes. Dangerously smart people are ruthless about what information they allow into their mind and why. They do not chase novelty, they chase leverage. Machiavelli spent his exile studying history, not to impress anyone, but to extract principles that could be used to predict the behavior of rulers centuries later. He was not reading for entertainment, he was sharpening a blade. The first half of this lesson is selective ignorance. Stop consuming information that does not alter your strategy, your skills, or your understanding of power. Gossip about celebrities, outrage cycles, random tragedies on the other side of the planet. These things drain your bandwidth while giving you nothing in return but a vague sense of doom. The second half is targeted obsession. Choose one or two domains that directly affect your leverage, negotiation, human psychology, your specific industry, and go deep. Read primary sources, not just summaries. Observe real people, not just theories. Ask yourself with every new piece of data, how could this be used, against me, for me, with me? Then weaponize it quietly. When you understand your boss's incentives better than he does, you can propose solutions that make you indispensable. When you understand your partner's attachment patterns better than she does, you can avoid pointless conflicts and steer conversations towards connection instead of explosion. When you understand the market better than your competitors, you can move before them, not after. Intelligence is not how much you know, it's how efficiently you can turn knowledge into power. That's what makes it dangerous.
Lesson 6. Master the art of controlled naivety. Dangerously smart people do not walk around announcing how perceptive they are. They do the opposite. They allow others to underestimate them. They allow people to explain things they already know. They encourage underestimation because it is the most comfortable cage people will ever build for themselves around you. Machiavelli warned that a prince should never reveal the full extent of his insight, because the more clearly people see that you see them, the more cautiously they will move around you. Your goal is not to impress them with your intelligence. Your goal is to let them relax enough to reveal theirs and their stupidity, their vanity, their weak points. Controlled naivety means you occasionally ask questions whose answers you already know. You let the talkative reveal their schemes. You let the arrogant brag about their shortcuts. You let the manipulative over-explain their motives. You smile, you nod, you store information. The dangerously smart do not correct every lie they hear. They catalog it. When someone lies to you about something small, you do not need to confront them. You need to adjust your understanding of how they will behave when the stakes are high.
Calling them out may satisfy your ego in the moment, but silence gives you a private map of who can be trusted, who can be used, and who must be avoided. Think about how often you have burned social capital trying to prove that you are not as naive as someone thinks. You argue, you insist, you lecture. For what? To change their opinion of your intelligence? But their opinion does not change your leverage. Their secrets do. Controlled naivety does not mean letting people walk all over you. It means choosing when to reveal that you are not as blind as they assumed. You can let a small slight pass without reaction, while quietly withdrawing opportunity from the person who inflicted it. You can let a manipulative colleague believe you did not notice their attempt to take credit, while making sure the right person hears whose work actually moved the project. Being underestimated is not an insult when you are dangerously smart. It is camouflage. Lesson 7. Separate your public mask from your private mind. You were raised in a culture that glorifies authenticity. Be yourself is treated as a moral commandment, but as Machiavelli understood, power belongs to those who know how to switch masks without ever losing themselves underneath. The average person has only one mode. If they are angry inside, they are angry outside. If they are afraid, everyone can see it in their eyes, their voice, their decisions. Their internal weather controls their external world. This is emotional honesty, perhaps, but it is also strategic suicide. Dangerously smart people do not lie about who they are. They choose which part of themselves to display in each situation. In a room full of insecure superiors, they amplify their humility and curiosity. In a room full of indecisive followers, they amplify their certainty and direction. The core self does not change, the presentation does. Imagine your private mind as a castle and your public persona as the clothing you wear when you leave it. You wouldn't walk naked into a blizzard and complain that the world should be warmer. You dress for the climate. In the same way, you do not walk mentally naked into hostile environments and complain that people should be kinder. You dress your behavior for the social weather. This is not faking, it is adaptation. The tree that refuses to bend in the wind breaks. The one that sways survives. Machiavelli called this the virtue of the fox, the ability to adjust tactics while preserving the ultimate goal. To practice this, first get brutally honest about what your current mask is. How do people describe you now when you are not in the room? Too nice? Too intense? Too quiet? Too talkative? That reputation is the shape of the mask you have been wearing unconsciously. Then ask, does this mask help or hurt me in the arenas that actually matter? Work, relationships, negotiations? If it hurts you, do not try to destroy your personality. Simply design a second mask, a version of you that speaks 30% less, a version of you that asks 2 questions before offering an opinion, a version of you that smiles slightly when insulted instead of reacting. Try it in low-stakes environments first, at a cafe, in small talk, with people you will never see again. You're not pretending to be someone else. You are strengthening the muscle of choice. Over time, you will realize how rarely the situation actually demands your raw, unfiltered reaction, and how often it rewards a composed, chosen response. This is the true meaning of being unreadable. Lesson 8. Turn every wound into a weapon. No matter how intelligent you are, life has already humiliated you. You have trusted people who betrayed you, confessed feelings that were mocked, taken risks that failed publicly. Most people try to forget these moments as quickly as possible. They cover the memory with shame, denial, or bitterness. Dangerously smart people do something colder and far more powerful. They dissect their pain, the way a strategist dissects a lost battle. Without self-pity, without excuses, without the usual story of how unfair it was, they ask one ruthless question: exactly where did I give away my power? Was it when you ignored the first red flag because you were lonely? Was it when you believed a title meant loyalty? Was it when you sent that angry message instead of walking away? Intelligence that does not pass through this fire stays theoretical. Only when you connect your ideas to your scars do they become unshakable principles. Machiavelli himself wrote The Prince after being tortured, exiled, and discarded by the very elites he had served. He could have drowned in bitterness. Instead, he turned his humiliation into a manual on how power really operates. His pain became a weapon that still slices through political illusions 5 centuries later. Your experiences, however small they seem compared to a prince's downfall, contain the same kind of data. The relationship where you stayed too long, the job where you were underpaid and overpromised, the friendship where you were the permanent therapist and never the patient. Each one is a map of how your need to be liked, seen, or needed was used against you. Sit with one of those memories. Write down the exact sequence of events, not your story about them. What was said, what was done, what you felt. Then strip out the judgment and look only at the mechanics. Where did incentives clash? Where did you ignore information because it was inconvenient? Where did you act from fear instead of position? From this, distill one principle, just one. Never trust verbal promises without written terms. Never explain your boundaries more than once. Never treat attraction as proof of character. That principle, born from blood instead of from theory, will make you more dangerously smart than a library full of books you never apply. Here is the final ruthless truth. Dangerously smart people are not born different from you. They were simply willing to stop playing the innocence game sooner. They got tired of confusing niceness with safety, intelligence with overthinking, authenticity with strategic nudity. At some point, they chose clarity over comfort. Look back at the 8 lessons you have just walked through. Every one of them is an act of treason against the version of you that was trained to be harmless. Stopping the worship of useless analysis kills your addiction to feeling smart instead of becoming effective. Seeing self-interest beneath words kills your fantasy that people will behave according to how good you are rather than according to what they fear and want. Thinking in moves, not moments, kills your need to always be right now. Guarding your emotional state kills the excuse that you could not help your reaction. Treating information as a weapon kills your identity as a passive consumer of other people's stories. Controlled naivete kills your craving to be seen as sharp in every conversation. Mask control kills your dependence on the environment to be gentle with you. Turning wounds into weapons kills the story that your past was only something that happened to you, instead of raw material you can forge into power. Do you notice the pattern? Every lesson is a subtraction. You are not adding tricks on top of who you are. You are cutting away the pieces of conditioning that kept your intelligence harmless. Dangerous intelligence is what remains when you stop needing to be understood, liked, and morally spotless more than you need to be effective. This is where most people turn away. They feel the pull of these ideas and then tell themselves, this is too manipulative, too dark, not who I am. What they really mean is, I am more comfortable being predictable prey than uncomfortable but sovereign. You do not have to become cruel to become dangerously smart. You do have to become honest about how the world actually functions. Machiavelli was exiled, tortured, sidelined, and yet he chose knowledge over comforting delusion. You are being asked to make a smaller sacrifice, the sacrifice of your illusions. So, here's your experiment. For the next 8 days, take 1 lesson per day and practice it in the smallest possible way. On day 1, refuse to indulge in another cycle of overanalysis. Make 1 small decision faster than you normally would. On day 2, when someone tells you a flattering story about their motives, quietly ask yourself what their incentives are instead.
On day 3, pause before you react and choose the response that improves your position, not the one that soothes your pride. On day 4, notice one moment where your emotions start to spike and treat it like an alarm instead of a command. On day 5, cut out one stream of useless information and replace it with 30 minutes of deep study in a domain that actually affects your leverage. On day 6, deliberately let someone underestimate you and see what they reveal when they think you are harmless. On day 7, wear a different mask. Speak less, listen more, change your posture, and observe how people respond to the adjusted version of you. On day 8, take one wound you still feel embarrassed about and extract from it a single, non-negotiable principle for how you will move from now on. If you actually do this, you will notice subtle shifts. People who used to pull you into pointless debates will sense that you are no longer available as an emotional puppet. Coworkers who expected you to overshare will find you strangely hard to read. Manipulators who once enjoyed watching you scramble to defend yourself will feel for the first time that they are swinging at smoke. None of this requires you to shout, threaten, or posture. It requires you to remember in every interaction that your mind is your last territory of sovereignty, and that giving it away cheaply is the most unintelligent move you can make. The world you live in is not going to become gentler because you wish it would. If anything, it is becoming sharper, faster, and more unforgiving to those who still believe that being obviously good is enough. Dangerously smart people are not the villains of this story. They are the ones who bothered to learn the script instead of just reacting to the plot. You can keep pretending you don't see the game, or you can start playing it with your eyes open. If you have felt something dark and sharp in you wake up while listening to this, that is not evil. It is your buried instinct for self-preservation stretching its limbs. Do not put it back to sleep. Train it, sharpen it, aim it first at your own weaknesses, then at the structures that have been feeding on your confusion. If you are ready to keep going down this path, to study power, psychology, and strategy until they become second nature, then make a simple contract with yourself right now. Subscribe not because I asked, but because you have decided that remaining harmlessly intelligent is no longer acceptable. You are done being a piece on someone else's board. From now on, you play.